Hi everyone. So for this week's video, I want to give you a mindset exercise that's kind of rooted in neuroscience, really. It's not about motivation or positive thinking. It's basically based on studies that show that the brain can actually change through repetition, focus, and our behavior. So what most people don't realize is that our brain doesn't actually show us reality. Okay. It shows you what it's been trained to notice. So every second of every day, your brain is just filtering huge amounts of information and deciding what matters to you. And that filter is known as the reticular activating system, or the RAS. So if your brain has been trained to look for things like stress, lack of things, failure, reasons you're behind, that's exactly what it's going to highlight to you. Okay. And that's not because it's true, but because it might be familiar. All right. So this practice basically trains your brain to expect something different. So, step one of this exercise is to choose one identity based intention. Now, this isn't a goal and it's not an affirmation that you don't believe. It's basically like a statement about the person that you are becoming. All right. So, I'll give you some examples. It could be something like, I am becoming someone who trusts herself, or I am learning to take calm, decisive action, or I am creating a business that supports my life, or I'm building emotional stability and confidence. It could be whatever it is that you want. All right. Now, when you work with identity instead of outcomes, your brain actually responds differently. Your brain's job is to keep your behavior consistent with who you believe you are. So when your identity begins to shift, then your behavior is going to follow naturally. So, what I want you to do is just write down one sentence, and I want you to keep it the same for all of this week. Okay. Then, step two is to visualize one supporting behavior of that statement, not the end result. So, this part is really, really important. Okay. Most people try and visualize the outcome, but the brain actually changes through behavior. So, instead of seeing yourself at the finish line of the end of that goal, rather see yourself doing a thing or like a micro action that is going to help towards that. So it might be visualizing yourself perhaps opening up your laptop and beginning to write a newsletter, for example, even if you don't finish it, but just making that one step. Or perhaps it's about responding to a message thoughtfully rather than immediately. It could be following through on a promise that you made to yourself. It could be staying present with something instead of reaching for a distraction. All right, I've done that like a million times. I've started doing something and then I'll get an idea in my head and be like, oh, let me just Google that quickly. And, this is all about just staying focused, staying present. It could be completing one small task before switching to another and being really aware that you're doing it. So even if you notice yourself going to switch to something else, just stop yourself and make sure that you complete that one small task first before moving on to another one. It could be pressing publish on an email or something, or a landing page or something, even if you're feeling like really nervous in your body, just pushing through and just hitting that publish button. Or it could be something like prioritizing one thing and then just letting the rest wait until you've done that one thing. Okay. It could be saying no to someone without feeling the need to over explain. Whatever it is that feels right for you. Now, when you visualize behavior, that your brain actually fires the same neural pathways as if you were actually doing it. All right. And there's been loads and loads of studies that have actually proven this. Okay. So basically, what's happening is that every time you visualize this, you are literally rehearsing the version of you that you want to become. And that's basically how neuroplasticity works. Step three is to ask one powerful brain priming question. Okay. So choose one question and use it every evening this week. So, again, I'm going to give you some examples. So, you might ask, okay, where did I act in alignment with the person that I'm becoming today? What did I do that supports my future self? What evidence did I notice today that I'm capable? What opportunity did I notice that might have missed before? Anything, again, that you find relevant to you. Now, questions are instructions to our brain. All right. So when we ask ourselves a question, our RAS automatically starts kind of scanning for answers. All right. So it's not about needing to force being positive. Your brain's actually going to do the work for you. So I just want to explain why this method works. Okay. So this practice basically strengthens the neural pathways linked to things like confidence, self-trust, agency. It can really reduce our overwhelm because it gives our brain clear direction. It trains our perception to notice opportunity instead of threats. It builds evidence, and evidence is what creates our belief. Okay. It's not about like confidence doesn't come first, action does. And when you keep rehearsing this action, whether it is mentally and you're reinforcing it emotionally, your brain starts to expect it from you. So over time, this changes how you actually respond to situations, how quickly you recover from setbacks, and how willing you actually are to take action that is aligned with your goals. So I hope that all makes sense. I'd love you to try this like every day this week. All right. It's not going to take no more than like 3 minutes a day. Okay. So you've got one identity statement, one behavior visualization, and one question in the evening. That's all it is. All right. And that's basically how our brain changes. All right. It's not by using pressure or force, it's about just using intentional repetition and being really, really aware. Okay. And do this, and you might actually be really surprised by how quickly your perception shifts. So I'd love you to give this a go this week, and I will see you next week.